Spirits podcast, a boozy dive into mythology, legends, and folklore. Every week, we pour a drink and learn about a new story from around the world. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Julia.
Julia, we are here in a hot part of the year, but you know that it is never too warm for us to gather around a fire, even if it's just a photo of a fire on somebody's phone, and tell a spooky story.
I feel like we talk about this every summer. The campfire is very traditional, very classic, and I do like it in the middle of summer, even on the evenings when it is perhaps too hot for a campfire. So I'm embracing it, you know? If I'm going to be sweaty, at least it's sweaty at night in front of a fire and I can move away and then come back and then move away and then come back.
It's kind of like my relationship with death, Julia, which I like to sort of touch occasionally and then back away from. And one of the ways that I like to remember that I'm going to die one day, but there can be meaning to my life is by telling spooky ass stories. And that's what I love that we get to do here every month on Spirits.
That is true. We get to do it every month, and I love that for us. We're so lucky. Aren't we blessed? Blessed, Amanda.
What you got for me today, girl?
I actually have what Delaney has titled The Final Stories from Delaney.
Not the final stories.
I don't think that she means like she is about to keel over and never tell another story again. I think this is just the culmination of all of the scary stories that she has sent in thus far.
The final stories to date.
Yes, final stories to date. So I actually have 4 different stories from Delaney. So what I would like to do, Amanda, is read you the first one, and then you can come in with your story, and then we can kind of alternate with Delaney's stories and other listener-submitted stories.
Oh my God, adorable. I love it.
All right, so we're going to start with story number 1, Creature in the Crawl Space.
Oh boy, a very haunted architectural feature to begin with.
My grandparents' house was the setting. Grandpa helped build and design the home alongside the contractor. Quite common, apparently, during the housing boom in the suburbs of South Chicago post-war. The dining room and front room were connected through the wall by a mutual fireplace. I actually love this design. I love a, both sides fireplace.
Me too. We saw it recently, Julia, at Mark Twain's house, where we went for a This Guy Sucked live show.
You could look into the fireplace in the dining room and see your sibling on the other side in the front room. It was super cool. There was a playroom / third bedroom upstairs, a purple room, which was Grandma's favorite color. She insisted upon a purple bathtub, tiles, wallpaper, sink, counters. It was awesome.
I'm lusting over the idea of this bathroom.
I love a 1950s all one color bathroom.
Incredible. I had a pink one growing up, and at the time, my mom thought it was so ugly. But looking back, that shit was so chic.
It's coming back around now, I feel like. Like, our generation was like, oh, I'm sad they ripped out the entirely yellow bathroom or the entirely pink bathroom. But nowadays, it looks cool.
It's the millennial adult equivalent of choosing your favorite Power Ranger is, well, what color would your, a monochromatic vintage tile bathroom be?
Exactly.
Mine is seafoam.
I also would do seafoam. Amanda, either teal or seafoam. Yeah, you're right. You're so right. There was also a back living room with an adjoined patio and a basement. And that's where Grandpa's manly bathroom was located.
Ooh.
I do like the idea of having a quote unquote manly bathroom where it's oh, no purple tile. We simply can't gender the tile. And that's where Grandpa goes to take his poops.
I 100% read manly bathroom as the bathroom where poops are allowed to happen, which is insane because everybody poops, as the literature tells us. But Julia, I also had that growing up where the basement in the bathroom was where my dad was allowed to use the bathroom.
That's wild. I can understand wanting to go there for privacy and not wanting to disturb anyone or be disturbed. But the idea of you're only allowed to poop in one bathroom is wild. So here we go. Into the basement, where there's a small door set into the wall on the right, blending in with the wooden paneling. It always had a slight creak when you opened it, no matter how often WD-40 was applied. This was the crawl space, the place we were technically not allowed to go into. So, of course, my brother and I had to explore it. I honestly have no idea how old I was when this happened, maybe 5 or 7 years old, which would make my brother Alex 2 or 3 at the time, just starting to walk and quote unquote run with confidence. Now, crawling around the house was old news, too easy. He wanted to crawl somewhere he had never been before. And a little door, a perfect height for him, was very, very tempting. I, for this short period of time in our lives, was taller than him, and then a smiling, crying emoji next to that. And I knew where the flashlight was hidden in the upstairs cabinet in the kitchen. I remember fetching it, walking downstairs, and seeing my brother crawl into darkness. He did not wait for me.
To be fair, Julia, it is called a crawl space. It is right there in the name.
I hurried after him, switching the flashlight on. Alex was giggling somewhere off to my right. Dust and cobwebs littered the floor and the ceiling, irritating my eyes and airways. Storage bins filled with decades-old holiday decorations and years of schoolwork from my mom were scattered around randomly. I saw her old Barbie dolls trying to make their escape from a bin, haphazardly reaching out, still as naked as ever after my uncle got to them. The old porch goose sat in a corner, dressed in frilly Easter attire. And then in parentheses, it goes, question, do y'all have porch geese in the East Coast, or is that a Midwestern thing?
I had never encountered a porch goose until I went to my friend Leslie's house. She grew up in Mississippi. Her spouse grew up in different places, but it's kind of culturally like Ozark coded. And that is my first porch goose.
Yes, I don't think I ever saw a porch goose growing up on Long Island. Finally, I crawled to the far back of the space. The flashlight illuminated my toddler brother, sitting still, paralyzed by the creature in the corner. Its back to us.
Oh?
Then it began to laugh to itself.
Wait, sorry. What is this?
There is a creature in the corner of the crawl space with its back to them, starting to laugh to itself.
No, thank you.
Delaney continues, I definitely peed my pants a little bit. Turning around to face us, face contorted into a fierce grimace, laughing maniacally, was our grandpa.
Oh my God.
That's right. Our grandpa decided to scare the ever-living shit out of us by hiding in the crawl space and wearing a Jason mask from Friday the 13th.
Grandpa!
He had caught me in there before and figured that this would be the ultimate lesson. Well, Grandpa, you were right. I am now terrified of small spaces. I hope you're still laughing to yourself about it wherever you are. It was a good prank.
How long was Grandpa waiting in that crawl space to make this prank happen?
Oh, probably so long. Probably a good amount of time, let's be honest.
Damn, that's crazy, dude.
That's a good one. That's a good start. Because, like, I'm picturing it in my mind's eye, right? And I'm picturing, like, a little fucking Gollum-esque creature crouched in the corner, staring at the wall, and then it starts shaking with laughter. I'm like, oh, fuck no. Absolutely not. Fuck that.
I would, like, give myself a million scrapes scrambling out of that crawl space so fast.
Yep, that's fair. That's fair. Now, we do have 3 other Delaney stories, but I want to hear some of yours, Amanda, as I sprinkle these in throughout the episode.
Oh, amazing. Okay, Julia, I have one here from The Curious Dragon, she, her, titled Minor Haunting, Creepy Voices.
Ooh, okay. All right.
So Curious Dragon writes, hey there, I am a new listener and didn't realize the story could be a haunting or something else until I started listening. So I'm curious for your take.
Ooh, I'm excited.
When I was just the age to be allowed to be home alone, I would always hear a thunk in the office/guest room sometime during the home aloning. I had pretty bad anxiety, so this would make me upset, and I would typically call my parents, who would generally say it's my imagination, and eventually I got used to it.
I had a lot of moments like that when I first started being left home alone, right? And Amanda, I'm sure you had a different experience probably being constantly surrounded by siblings. But when you're like an only child left home alone and you hear a strange noise, I remember like hearing a noise downstairs and then like slowly creeping down the stairs to like kind of peer past the staircase around into the back of my house to like see if there's anything there. I don't know if that's the cause of my anxiety, but I don't think it helped my anxiety.
I don't think it helped either. I was mostly listening out for sounds that would indicate that my siblings were fighting. I think I remember like 2 times that I was left home alone. And I would mostly just hole up in my room and wait.
Fair enough.
Curious Dragon continues. Also, my fan at night had a light for each setting it was on. And randomly, the light for the highest setting burned out, and then the one below it was always on and would generally flicker throughout the night whenever I use this. I still have this fan, by the way, and it still does that to this day.
I would get rid of that fan.
The by far creepiest thing that has happened to me, though, is once I was lying in bed around 11 at night, doodling, drawing, something like that, when suddenly I heard my name urgently whispered in my own ear.
Okay.
I whirled my head in all directions, but there was nothing there. At the time, I attributed this to the sound machine I used at night, but that doesn't seem plausible now that I'm thinking more about it. This is the one and only time this happened. It's not like my sound machine regularly made a noise that I misinterpreted for my name. For about a month after that, I would get intrusive thoughts at night about there being tall, black humanoid creatures behind me. These thoughts were so strong, in fact, that I would turn around and be honestly surprised that they weren't there. But I will certainly keep a watchful eye when at that house. I would find it awesome to actually live with a friendly household ghost. I think it'd be very cool to have a ghost living with you that wasn't scary, but was just your roomie or something. That is 100% a haunting I would love and welcome.
Now, I don't know that necessarily the spirits that you are describing are what I would consider a friendly ghost. I don't know. I simply don't know. Who can say?
I think that as you figure out your relationship to, the environment around you, it might be worth sleeping like without your sound machine or without the fan, kind of see what happens there. But I generally am feeling the vibe that you are open to a relationship with the paranormal. Perhaps, Curious Dragon, too open. Perhaps you are kind of like setting out your threshold, unlocking your door, leaving it wide open. And I don't want anything to walk through that you wouldn't be prepared for. You know what I mean?
I feel like I also have to do a little bit of the logical explanation to this because I don't want you to assume listening to the show that necessarily the things that you experienced were hauntings. I do think that if the hearing your own name and the intrusive thoughts things are happening right before you fall asleep, there are forms of the sort of sleep paralysis or that sort of hallucinations prior to falling asleep that do exist. I've had the auditory ones before where I've heard things whispered in my ear or my own name whispered in my ear or the hearing of someone calling your name. I've heard falling asleep, my parents calling my name, right? Even though they're not in the house or, I'm a full ass adult. Why would I be hearing their name?
You haven't lived at home for a long time.
Exactly. So I do think that there is logical explanation to this. I also think that take what we're saying with a grain of salt, obviously. And also what Amanda said, 100%, don't just be oh, this spirit could be friendly. Let me just invite them into my lives.
I like to have a wary but removed relationship where, is it a ghost? Is it not? I don't know. Who's to say? But I am going to, take precautions when I can and generally not walk around the world with an open face and arms and spirit of oh, come on and fuck with me, please.
Precisely. I think that's a good strategy to have going into the spooky future.
Well said, Julia. What's Delaney's next story?
This is the cemetery, Amanda. Now, there is a cemetery I went to once closer to my dad's house than to home here. It's known for being particularly haunted and is/was part of a ghost tour. Delaney did provide a link, which I'm going to share with you, Amanda, to take a look at while I tell this story.
Thank you.
But we'll include it for our listeners who are part of the Patreon.
Patreon.com/spiritspodcast. Keep this show rolling, folks.
So Delaney continues. My mom and I needed to do our routine of visiting a cemetery after dealing with my dad for that day, necessary paperwork, before heading home. As Delaney has mentioned in previous stories, there was a bit of a situation when she was growing up, and so this was something that she and her mom would often do as a way of getting out of the house. Now, we saw on the map that this cemetery was nearby, and it looked fairly secluded. The road ran along the highway and turned into a small gravel road heading into the woods. We had to cross a tiny bridge to find a place to park. I love a tiny bridge. Big fan of tiny bridge.
Me too. They're so sweet.
Hindsight makes me wonder if the locals purposefully put their dead beyond running water to prevent them escaping and haunting the town.
Well, that's scary, but probably fairly accurate.
A spooky thought, but I like that you're having it now.
Yeah.
So Mom locked the car out of habit, despite no one else being there. We began strolling, reading headstones, appreciating the stonework, wondering how these people lived, who they loved, how they died, if they were resting peacefully. The children's section was maintained fairly well, with toys and flowers long dead covering the little graves. However, one other section felt wrong.
Uh-oh.
Stepping from the path onto the grass, we felt an immediate oppressiveness. The air itself was heavy, choking, pushing down on our bodies, making our heads swim. We backed up onto the path, 1 foot away, and the oppressiveness disappeared.
Whoa.
Looking bewildered, my mom asked aloud if maybe there was faulty wiring underground leading to a light or something.
There you go.
That's a real Jake answer.
Oh, yeah. Smarty cutie.
We looked in all directions, then realized there was nothing electrical in the cemetery. We did an experiment of taking turns crossing the grassy threshold and then back onto the path. It was like there was an invisible wall. The difference was shocking.
Damn, dude, I've never experienced anything like that.
I've experienced something like that. Again, I've talked about the basement at one of my old jobs, that every time I went down there, it felt extremely oppressive and also it made me want to pee. Mm-hmm. And I still think that was haunting. I don't know. I simply don't know. Maybe the ghost wanted me to pee real bad. Who can say?
Maybe it was a trap where they wanted to get you in the bathroom and then bathroom haunt you.
That's very possible. There's no bathroom in that basement, thankfully. Otherwise, I would have been fucked. Taking deep breaths, holding hands, we carefully made our way to the nearest graves. There were a few military graves scattered around. Men who died in combat according to their death dates, women who died of the diseases they treated the soldiers for, or from childbirth, which always follows the war front. I was on the verge of collapsing from the lack of oxygen. The air was so thick. Overwhelming despair and fear filled my mind. Squeezing my mom's hand, we rushed to the car just to find it unlocked. The passenger door wide open.
What?
Delaney's next line is, "Oh, shit."
Yeah.
"Tough luck, ghost. That's my seat, and we are leaving now."
Oh, no.
Mom checked the whole car. Nobody was in it. She peeled out of the cemetery faster than I have ever seen her drive. We laughed nervously to ourselves the whole way home, trying to rationalize what exactly happened. But we still can't explain it. One day, I'd like to go back to experiment again. Maybe it'll be better next time. But definitely not going to go alone, of course.
Damn, that is scary, man.
Yeah.
Particularly if you know you locked the car. I feel like the odds that either the door like falls open because it was improperly latched and also that the car unlocks itself, that would really make me scared.
That is spooky. That's not a good time. And like, you know, there's very much the possibility that maybe someone like was around, tried to break into the car, jimmied the lock or something like that. But it seemed pretty much like no one was around. And why would they be? They had to go over a little bridge to get there. A little bridge.
Come on.
Just a park.
You don't just stroll across a little bridge to rob the only car in a graveyard.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Wild. Well, Julia, I'm feeling a little bit parched at the thought of that oppressive atmosphere. So shall we pop into the kitchen for a quick refill?
Let's go. Hey, it's Julia, and welcome to The Refill. Thank you so much to our newest patrons. There's quite a lot of you this week. Raindar, Claire, Emily, Closifer, Kay Thacker, Sonez, Bree, Preludes Fire, and Kaylor. Thank you so much for joining us. Your support means that we can do this podcast each and every week and bring you more and interesting news stories from around the world. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And you join the ranks of our supporting producer level patrons like Alicia, Hannah, Scott, Anne, Matthew, Lily, and Will. And of course, our legend level patrons. Captain Jonathan Malachi Cosmos, Audra, Sarah, Beam Me Up Scotty, Morgan, Rico Like Chibi Yokai, and Smoliv. And hey, if you are interested in joining the Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/spiritspodcast today to sign up for a 7-day free trial. And check out our cool rewards like ad-free episodes, recipe cards for every episode, and so much more. Check it out. That's patreon.com/spiritspodcast. I also want to tell you about another show here at Multitude, Dreaming Against the Machine. Now, I want you to picture what a future looks like. And in your head, is it a good future? Because Dreaming Against the Machine is a podcast all about envisioning a realistic and hopeful future. Each week, the show's host, journalist and astrophysicist Dr. Adam Becker, will have an earnest and entertaining conversation with a guest about possible futures seen through the lenses of history, science, and culture. Just this week, he released one with one of my favorite authors of all time, Becky Chambers. If you enjoyed our episode with Becky Chambers a while ago, you're going to love this conversation. In a world where tech oligarchs and their power fantasies are driving visions of the future, Dreaming Against the Machine aims to take back the terms of the public conversation about what our world can and should be. New episodes every Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts. And now, let's get back to the show. Amanda, we are back, and hey, what have you been drinking lately?
Julia, I have been really enjoying the Bright Eye Beer Company in Long Beach, New York. They have like a Guinness dupe that is really tasty. I don't know what it is about me, but in the summertime, sometimes I want to sit in the air conditioning and drink a dark beer. And so I have really been enjoying their incredible nitro stout.
Interesting. I do know that like they do nitro stouts that are sometimes vaguely summer inspired. Like I've seen a lot of like s'mores nitro stouts and stuff like that you can buy in cans. So that does feel summery to me, even if a stout does feel way too heavy for me with all the humidity and whatnot. But
yeah, it is a dry Irish stout, so it's definitely like lighter bodied than like a heavy sort of like, I don't know, molassesy or like s'moresy stout that you're thinking of. It's easy drinking.
Yeah, like a dessert stout is how I usually describe those.
Julia, they also have a beer that I think you would really enjoy next time you're down these parts, the Clam Juice Pale Ale.
Oh, wow. Okay. Is there actual clam juice in the Clam Juice Pale Ale?
They don't say, so I wouldn't have Jake taste it right away, but I would want you to taste it for sure.
When we were in Maine, I tried I forget if it was a vodka or a gin. I think it was a vodka, but it was like a vodka that they filtered through oyster shells. And I was like, this is just for me.
Whoa.
No Jake sips today.
Yum, yum, yum.
I have been really enjoying Amanda. This is a rabbit hole that we're going to go down, I guess. Amanda got me into the Bravo TV show Summer House, despite the fact that she has not watched Summer House herself.
What I did watch was obviously the 3-part finale and follow-up episode for the most recent season of Summer House because I stan Sierra. Then I started watching In the City, but Julia was kind enough to watch some of that finale with me and said, oh no,
I need to know everything that's going on. So of course I started at the beginning because I am nothing if not a completionist.
True.
And it is really interesting to kind of like know how everyone ends up and then starting from the beginning and seeing kind of like the story arcs of all of these people.
It's a self-serve frame narrative. You're the best.
It's wonderful. It's really cool. So with that in mind, listen, I don't think any of those people are necessarily good people except Sierra. Sierra seems cool. They're all flawed human beings, and I am like fascinated by who they are as people and as characters on a TV show. One of the characters, one of the people, does own a hard tea line and they're not seltzers. They are sparkling, but they're not seltzers. So they're like hard sparkling teas. And I was like, well, the Whole Foods near me does have them. Maybe I'll give it a try. And you know what? They don't suck.
They don't suck. I am happy to give them a true review should they wish to sponsor us, which I will reach out and see.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what, Julia? I wouldn't kick it out of bed, as I told you halfway through a can yesterday.
I went through several in the like 96-degree weather that we had a couple of days ago at time of recording. They kept me going, and I had no hangover after because they have no sugar in them. So shout out.
Small shout out to the unnamed brand that we will name should they wish to pay us.
There you go. You could probably Google it, but we're not going to say the name.
Not just like our feet pictures, Julia. You can unlock that with money.
That is not true. You can't unlock my feet pics.
I'm happy to unlock feet pics for money.
All right, fair enough.
All right, Julia, would you like to hear an email that came in from Zoe, she, her?
I need you to tell me what the cost of your feet pics are first, and then we can move on.
I mean, like $1,000.
Okay. All right. I thought you were going to say like 20 per person. I was like, you know what? Fair enough.
Because, it's a precious resource. My feet have never been captured on the internet. And should they make their way out there, I do want to make sure that it's a premium photo for a premium experience.
Gotcha. Cool.
Here's Zoe's story. Hey, y'all. It's been a while since I've written in with any spooky stories, but I do have a few to share about my fiance. Though by the time you read this, he'll probably be my husband.
Oh, congratulations.
This was sent in a little under a month ago and in June, and I presume that Zoe, you and your husband are married. So mazel tov. Julia, Zoe was the person of ghostly Cheez-It fame.
Yes, I remember the ghostly Cheez-Its.
My fiance, Dan, is a spooky boy. He has spirit guides, an extensive tarot collection, and reads those often, and sometimes sees and feels ghosts. This story is about the first time I brought him home to meet my family when we'd been dating for a few months, and I decided he should come with me to my hometown for my dad's birthday.
This is so relatable.
My parents live in the same super old house that I grew up in, and we slept in my now repainted and redecorated childhood bedroom. I should note that I have never once felt anything remotely ghosty in this house. It's just a comfy old home with beautiful woodwork full of family antiques and heirlooms.
Okay.
The morning after our first night spending back in the house together, Dan rolled over to me. Oh, you're shaking your head, Julia.
Because I know what's about to happen.
What's about to happen?
He's going to be like, so your house is haunted, huh?
Well, Dan rolled over to me and asked if the rocking chair in the corner belonged to my grandma. Yeah, I said. It was in her room for a really long time, and we took it when she moved to the nursing home. Why do you ask? I added.
She was sitting in it all night, wasn't she?
Oh, Dan said. I woke up in the middle of the night and felt something sitting there watching me. Now, I immediately sat up because, excuse me? Something watching you all night long? And he elaborated, don't worry, it didn't feel bad or like malevolent, more like someone just kind of like judging me. I got the vibe that it was distinctly protective of you, like it was trying to size me up and decide what I was about. So I put two and two together and decided maybe it was your grandma.
Okay, that's nice.
So some backstory here. My grandma and I were extremely close. Sadly, she passed away shortly after Dan and I started dating. So we never got to meet her, though I do think she would have really liked him. Our theory is that she came back to check on me and make sure Dan was good enough for her favorite granddaughter.
Damn, the fact that you're calling it now, called the shot, favorite granddaughter.
I do wonder if you are the only granddaughter. That's the only situation in which I would say that, but, respect to you, Zoe. Dan, to this day, still feels like the chair has some energy to it, and it's still her chair, but he hasn't woken up to any midnight ghost appraisals since.
It's because she already said, good, solid, don't need to watch this guy anymore.
Evidently, Grandma decided that Dan is a good egg, which I wholeheartedly agree with.
Love that.
Thanks for reading. Love the show. And I will write in soon with other stories of Dan being a spooky man, like the deer man in our apartment, my other grandmother getting pissy with him from beyond the grave, and the time a tarot reader predicted his soulmate, scarily accurately.
Yeah, I need all of those. I kind of want to save them for the Jake episode too, with this context now, because they seem very similar in my mind.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that you write in soon, Zoe, because I want it. I want it real bad.
Zoe, write on in, put the word Jake somewhere in the subject line, and we will make sure that we get that queued up for maybe our August or September Urban Legends.
Ooh, yes, I would like that very much. Well, Amanda, it's very funny that you read a story about a ghostly grandma, because the next story from Delaney is Grandma's Lake House.
Yay!
When I was 4, my grandma accidentally won a lake house in an auction.
Oh?
Accidentally buy a house, you ask? Yep, boomers.
Thank you for saying it. I didn't want to, kind of dump on the listener's story right away, but good God, is that not relatable to me?
Apparently, she had been visiting her sister when they decided to attend an auction, quote unquote, for fun.
I mean, that I relate to, yes.
They had never been to one before, and I guess Grandma was egged on by her sister to raise the paddle once in a while. Before she knew it, the auctioneer yelled, "Sold to the lady in purple." Now, Grandpa wasn't, happy, but that was that.
Damn.
They spent a few minutes freaking out and considering the options, which they had a home 2 states away, which was in story number 1. But this was a lake house directly on the water in a tiny town, nice neighbors, clean air, and plenty of room for the extended family to visit. They couldn't pass this up.
Aw.
It was some months later that Grandma learned the previous owner had died there.
Sure.
Why else would it be at auction?
You know, Julia, I think it's important that you ask questions sometimes, but don't ask questions other times. And if they were open to buying this house at auction and it didn't matter if the people died in it or not, they sure waited to the right time to ask that question.
Don't look a gift lake house in the mouth is what we're saying.
Completely agree.
So she kept it from us kids because there was no way we'd want to visit a haunted house. She told us this a few years ago after we had all grown up. Ooh, Grandma, you sneaky lady, well played.
I love a grandma's secret. My grandma's secret, I cannot tell because she is still living. It was like maybe a 2 out of 10 on the secret scale, but I felt so touched to know it.
I can't wait to hear about it, Amanda.
Many, many years from now.
I remember playing upstairs in the kids' bedrooms with a neighbor girl around my age. Her name was Paige. Paige, that was around your age. That's cute.
Oh,
I don't know why, but we were playing with dolls inside the closet where the bed linens were stored. It was a sizable walk-in closet with a large wooden door. And then, as we were playing, it slammed shut. Darkness.
Scary.
We desperately tried to find the doorknob, but there wasn't one. It only opened from the outside.
Aha.
We sat on the floor, holding each other and screaming for my grandma to help us. The adults, meanwhile, were blissfully unaware, enjoying some beers on the back deck.
Real lake house behavior.
The kids are upstairs playing with dolls. We're fine. Have a beer. Watch the lake. Listen for some loons.
We'll hear if there's a problem.
Our throats sore. We quieted down. That's when we heard, "Hello?" whispered behind us.
What the fuck?
I remember literally breaking my fingernails clawing at the door, bruising
Delaney.
my fists trying to bang it open. We were like caged animals, stuck with whoever was in there with us.
That's scary, dude.
Time passed, I don't know how long, and eventually Grandma found us. When she opened the door, the daylight was blinding, but her hug felt so good. Now, she didn't believe us, and she chalked it up to the wind shutting the door. Or maybe she did believe us, but she didn't want to scare us. Who knows at this point, man?
Mm-hmm.
Paige never came around to play inside the house again.
Oh, Paige.
She joined me for swimming in the lake, but I saw her less and less until her family moved away. My first and only closet experience with a girl, and the damn ghost of a nosy old person had to ruin it. Fuck my life.
You know, I was going to ask when you said you were playing in the closet with dolls for some reason, like, did you guys want to kiss? Because, Julia, I think you were with us when in like 3rd or 4th grade, we went into the top of Alyssa DeMonte's house where there was like a crawl space sort of like going into the attic. And it was like her fort and there was like pillows and like people signed the walls and stuff. And I was just like, God, I sure hope someone's mouth falls on my mouth at this point.
Love that for us. Love that for us.
It didn't, but, you know, worth a try.
Anyway, after that, I never went into that closet without putting the heaviest object in the doorway. I've tried talking to the spirit there, but I haven't heard that voice since, which maybe means they passed on after watching us grow for a couple of decades, content that their house was full of life and laughter once more.
Oh, super sweet.
I hope that's the case, but it does seem mean that they slammed the door shut on y'all and then we're like, "Hey, what's up? Hey, you want to hang out? Hey, you want to play?"
Creepy.
It seems like you're having fun. Let's do it in the dark. Meanwhile, they're crawling, clawing out the door, being like, "Save us!"
Yeah.
Brutal. Absolutely brutal.
Oh, great story. Thank you, Delaney.
Amanda, what do you got for me?
Next, I have, Julia, we talked about spooky kids, talked about spooky relatives. How about the parents of spooky children? One of our mainstays, one of our favorites to talk about here on these episodes.
I would love to hear about it. Tell me more. Tell me more.
This came in on the summer solstice from Lindsay,
Ooh.
who writes, Hey Spirits team, writing in with another story, this time about my spooky child. I previously wrote in about my great aunt's experiment with astral projection.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm still trying to convince my husband to send in his spooky stories.
Please, husbands, send in your stories.
We want to hear from the husbands of the Bisexual Women of Spirits podcast.
Honestly, yes. Yes, queen.
When my daughter, who's now 3, was around 15 months old at Halloween. Ideal age, by the way. My mother-in-law thought it'd be cute to teach her the sound that ghosts make.
Ooh, or boo. Which one do you think it is?
Oh, I didn't read the email.
Oh, you know. You have the story in front of you. Those are my 2 guesses.
She was the prime age for making animal noises when she saw one. Her goose honk really cracked us up.
Aww.
So with stores and homes decorated for the season, this would have been so adorable to teach her a new little party trick that the ghosts say something too.
Mm-hmm.
And for a while it was, she'd point out every ghost she saw with a squeaky boo noise that could only come from a toddler.
Oh no, I could cry. That's so cute.
And Julia, this does include a video of the baby saying the thing.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I'm going to upload it here and we can at least hear the adorable noise of this adorable beeb.
I gotta hear the baby saying boo. I gotta hear it.
Yes, that is a ghost. You're right.
That was so cute.
So good.
Oh no, I don't.
Thank you, Lindsay.
My ovaries.
crying a little bit.
I'm already on my period. My ovaries.
Julia's on her period. I'm sorry. Should have given the content warning.
No.
Okay, so back to the story. Lindsay continues. This was obviously fucking adorable.
Yeah, clearly.
We as parents were thrilled. How cute and smart was our little girl that she could point at an outline of a ghost and say boo.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Her newfound skill quickly lost its luster for us one afternoon
Uh-oh.
when she wandered into my office, pointed out a picture on the wall, and declared, boo!
Uh-oh.
The picture was a wedding photo of my grandparents, both of whom had passed away. My grandfather many decades ago, and my grandmother just a couple years back.
Uh-huh.
Because the picture was in black and white, my reasoning was that maybe it seemed a little ghostly to a child her age, dark background, white outline. Maybe it looks like a ghost.
Sure.
Still, it freaked us out quite a bit
Mm-hmm.
and continued to freak us out because she kept doing it. Anytime she saw that specific picture, she would squeal, boo.
Oh no.
I showed her other photos in black and white. None of them elicited the same reaction as just that wedding photo.
Uh-oh.
A short while after this behavior began, we were getting ready to leave my husband's uncle's house. Now, this home was in his family, formerly belonged to his grandmother, and as such, there are pictures of his family everywhere. They are a large Irish-American family, so as you can probably imagine, a lot of photos lined the walls of that home.
Sure.
As we put on our shoes to leave, our daughter again pointed to a picture and said, boo. My husband and I stared at each other wide-eyed. Because of all the pictures on the shelf by the door, she pointed to one of his grandmother and cousin. This was taken in color in the mid-2000s, looked very much like most of the other pictures on the shelf of various weddings, Christmases, family picnics. But Julia, it was the only one where both people in the picture had died.
Uh-oh.
So we were convinced at this point that we had a spooky child. Where would this end? Our house is over 100 years old. Would she just point to a corner one day and whisper an adorable boo?
Now, to be fair, I did think that was where the story was going to be going. I'm sure that also in teaching her this, they didn't teach her ghosts mean dead people. They just kind of showed her
Exactly.
ooh, the spooky ghost shape. That means they say boo, right?
Exactly. And just like the outline of the goose says honk and the cow says moo and this specific shape of ghost, she's 15 months old, okay? She doesn't have any rationale that represents a spirit. Come on.
No concept of death.
We were scared. We were not sure. Would she still be making her spooky noise at Christmas time when she saw pictures of our loved ones hanging on the tree? We looked forward to finding out.
We looked forward to finding out.
Fortunately for my nerves, In the last year and change, she has not continued doing this trick.
Okay.
She also never showed any other kind of spooky behavior. In fact, most things these days scare her.
Aww.
Just today, as I'm writing this email, she walked into my parents' house for dinner, declared, "I hope there's no ghosts in here," and then sat down for dinner.
What's going on?
We're not sure where this came from. That house could not be any less haunted.
Maybe you don't know.
We've also just had a baby boy, so I am looking forward to seeing if he shares his sister's quote-unquote sight next Halloween.
I can't wait. I'm really excited. Do you think that's one of those things where, like, you know, when someone is like, I think I'm about to walk into a room and someone's going to scare me. And you're like, I sure hope no one jumps out from a corner to scare me. You think that's like the child equivalent of that?
That's a really good point. I don't know if she would call that person a ghost. Maybe if they say boo to scare her, then she's like, I know what that is. But I am really curious. And Lindsay, mazel tov on your new baby. And I am so excited to hear any spooky tendencies that do or do not develop.
All right, Amanda, are you ready for Delaney's last story?
Yes, please bring us home.
This is The Cabin. This past February of 2026, I rented a cabin as a belated 30th birthday gift to myself.
Nice.
It was perfect. Tucked away on the edge of the campgrounds, next to the woods, and private. My favorite part was the wood-burning stove in the center, which made the whole experience magical. Reading a book by firelight isn't good on the eyes, but it is necessary for the soul. I was settling down in the whirlpool tub for a night soak and thankfully had the smallest fraction of signal to connect to the internet. I chose the latest episode of Spirits to listen to, which was episode 116. Of course, this one was focused on bathroom hauntings.
No, I'm so sorry.
Why, oh why I didn't bother to switch to something else is beyond me.
Well, because we do a really good job podcasting and you're a really loyal listener. And once you commit, you're not going away.
That hot, bubbly water was too heavenly to move. So I laid there in silence, listening to the horrors of other people's lives and trying to relax as best I could. When I got to the hey part featured in the title, peaceful bath time was over for me. I finished the episode, then moved on to continue reading my book by the fireplace before bed. Now, it was a bit hot by then inside the cabin, so I had some windows cracked open to let the crisp winter air in. The blinds were down, obviously. No way was I going to allow the outside to look inside to see me alone. All of a sudden, I heard crunching outside the small kitchen window, like the sound of dead leaves and branches breaking.
Or footsteps on new snow?
Now, there's wildlife around here. It's the woods, after all. This is their home. It's nothing, I tell myself mentally. I set down the book. I stand up. I put on a heavier shirt than the crop top that I was chilling in, just in case. I locate my emergency hunting knife on the table nearby, which I will say is important to have. Every time Jake and I go for a hike in the woods, he always has some sort of like, you know, not a hunting knife necessarily, but a type of knife that in case like you have to cut yourself out of something or cut something, it's important to have.
Or you see a cute little like flower and there's many other flowers and then you take less than half of the flowers that are there.
Precisely. So Delaney, I locate my emergency hunting knife on the table nearby, holding it tightly and undoing the sheath clasp. I stood there for a minute or two, listening intently. I didn't hear any crunching sounds leading away from my cabin.
Uh-oh.
And then I heard, hey.
Oh, no.
Well, Delaney's next line is, no.
I feel like we brought this on you.
Dropping to the floor, I army crawled to the window, holding my knife, not breathing, just listening. I looked over at the front door, locked. I looked across the room at the back door, locked. Now I just had to worry about the windows. Okay, breathe. You're an adult, you're armed, you have no cell service in the woods, and you're alone. And someone is outside this open window. You will not be a victim, not anymore. You can do this.
Oh.
First off, love this energy. This is I'm going to survive the horror movie energy, and I appreciate it, and I love it.
Final girl energy. You got it, Delaney.
Final girl energy. Bring that final girl energy into the rest of 2026 and into 2027. Go ahead. Do it.
We'll outlast them.
Now, continuing. Crawling to the other, larger open windows that someone could definitely get through, I quietly closed and locked them through the blinds. Now, back to the kitchen window. I peeked through the slats, and pure darkness of wilderness remained outside. I gathered my courage, and I reached out to close the window, and a smile illuminated from my firelight.
What the fuck?
Panic, slam, lock, run to the bathroom, cry.
Delaney, I wish I was as cool and composed as you.
It was about 2:30 a.m. when I unlocked the bathroom door and did a sweep of the cabin. No entry visible. Everything was still locked up tight. The fire had died out. I checked under the bed. Nothing. I checked the wardrobe. Nothing. I checked the damn fridge. Nothing besides my leftovers from dinner. Whew, I'm alive. I passed out sometime later, still holding my now sheathed knife, hiding under the blankets. In the morning, I cautiously walked around the outside of the cabin, looking for footprints in the snow that had fallen the day before. None. Thank the gods. There were, however, broken twigs outside the kitchen window.
Whoa.
So, okay. I either had spooked myself from listening to spirits, which, fair, wouldn't be the first time, or something worse that I really didn't want to think about since I had another 2 nights booked in the cabin. Either way, I didn't open the windows after sunset again, and I enjoyed the rest of my birthday vacation because I'll be damned if I let a weirdo ruin this precious time off work for me.
Yes. That's final girl energy.
The next line is, I still left the campground a 5-star review.
Yeah, because you're not a fucking narc, Delaney.
The owners were super kind, and it wasn't their fault. Next time I go, I'll most likely rent a different cabin, just in case. And maybe skip listening to spirits before bedtime.
You know, no one will blame you if you listen to spirits on your morning walk, on your lunch break, in a car, you know, during the daylight. We encourage you to consume however makes sense to you.
Yes, I love you weirdos. You don't have to listen to it falling asleep.
I love you, though. If you're falling asleep right now, have sweet dreams.
Delaney finishes with, well, that's it. That's my life so far. I sincerely hope you and the listeners got some spooky enjoyment out of it and a nice distraction from the daily drudgery, at least. Signing off for, hopefully, fingers crossed, the last time. Much love and adoration, Delaney.
Delaney, respectfully, I hope more shit happens to you that doesn't harm you, but that does provide fodder for this podcast because you are a great writer. You are a great character for us to be hearing about in stories. And I like your chutzpah, okay? I like your final girl energy.
I love that for you. And I hope that we all can channel that final girl Delaney energy moving on into the future.
Incredible. Well, Julia, I feel like energized and excited and ready to, with my, hunting knife at hand, with my anti-ice whistle on my keychain, I'm ready to, walk the streets prepared for what comes my way.
I feel like I am too. I think that, hey, life's tough out there right now. And I think that if we all, in the heat of the moment, can army crawl to a window, slam it shut, and then panic, run, cry, lock the door into the bathroom, and then survive through the night, that's the best we can do sometimes.
I'm with you. Don't not cry. Just cry in the proper order.
Exactly. You can cry while you're doing all those things.
Yeah.
Just got to get them done.
Exactly right.
And remember, when you are being the final girl in your life, hey, friends, remember, stay creepy.
Stay cool.
Later, saters.